since it's a couple minutes after. Good afternoon. If I could, I would like to call this meeting to order, ask everybody to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. And Selectman McCardle, if you could lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right. Normally at this time, we would have our Wednesday's pet session with former First Selectman Sherry Stenick. However, we're out of pets. So, which is actually very good news at our shelter. I've been following them on Facebook. They were down to one guest, I shall say, earlier, and it looks like we didn't have anybody available for today. I want to let everybody know that they are on Facebook. I've been seeing even some short videos on the pets, which makes them, for lack of a better term, a lot more marketable. And I want to thank the residents for paying attention and thinking of our shelter guests when they're looking for a pet for their house. So next up, to consider and act upon the minutes of regular meeting of July 6, 2016. May I have a motion to accept?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion or changes?
They looked okay to me.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. There go the minutes. We have some resignations for information only from the Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee. Robert Tota, unaffiliated, from 157 Tanglewood Lane. His resignation date was July 18th, 2016. And also resignation from the Town Plan and Zoning Commission. Jacinta, though Jackie Coleman, I think is how she's better known. Republican, 510 Barlow Road, for a term of 11/13 to 11/17. The resignation date was July 29, 2016. That leads us into appointments. To hear, consider, and act upon the following appointment to the Town Plan and Zoning Commission. Thomas Noonan, Republican, 91 Stoneleigh Square, for a term of 11/13 to 11/17 to fill the vacancy of Jackie Coleman, who just resigned. May I have a motion to accept?
I'll make a motion.
A second?
I'll second it.
All right, any discussion?
I'd like to thank Tom for deciding to to fill the Planning and Zoning Commission vacancy, and I look forward to his contributions.
Yeah, I can just second that. Appreciate his coming forward to fill the spot.
Yeah. I would point out that Mr. Noonan is stepping up from being an alternate member to a full member, so he should be able to get up to speed right away since he's been following the action and stepping in as needed. Any further comments?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations, Mr. Noonan. Thank you for stepping up. Would you like to say anything? You come up to the podium.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for this appointment. I was sorry to see that Jackie had to leave. I wish her all the best. Happy to step in for her place and continuing contributing to Fairfield. Thank you for all your work. Take care.
Thank you. All right. Next up, as we do from time to time, to hear from different organizations around town that provide some very special benefits to our residents. We have a representative from the Fresh Air Fund. If you please come up to the podium and give us a brief update on your organization, and I think we've all heard of over time, but probably aren't current in terms of everything that you do.
Hi, I'm Amanda Hansen. Thank you for having me here this evening to speak to you about an amazing organization that I have been a part of for the past 11 years personally, and for the past 2 years I've been the local Fairfield representative. And having moved to Fairfield 4.5 years ago, and been involved in the Fresh Air Fund myself for many years, I realized there weren't a lot of people who are aware of the program here. You know, I'd run into occasional people when we'd be in the streets with our Fresh Air kid, and they would inquire about it, and I thought it's time to get more involved and spread the word about this amazing program. So everybody has some information in front of them. The Fresh Air Fund program has been around for 140 years. We have documentation that buses have been coming, trains and buses have been coming to Fairfield since 1987, but we believe it was way before that time. We just don't have any digital documentation to prove otherwise. We think it was much before that. I know people are saying they've been involved in the 70s. So the Fresh Air Fund, what the organization does, it takes inner city kids out of the most unsafe neighborhoods in New York and brings them to the suburbs of 14 different states on the East Coast and also southern Canada, and provides them with 1 to 2 weeks of summer camp experience, if you will. These children come to us to the office in New York through 90 different organizations within the city. So it could either be through a school counselor, it could be a pediatrician, it could be a teacher, it could be a neighbor, it could be someone who just says, this family really needs some more support, they need some more resources. If not for being bussed out to the suburbs over the summer for a week or two, most of these children, due to lack of resources, would spend most of their summer sitting in the house, or the apartment rather, watching TV or playing on some electronic device, because their neighborhoods are deemed too unsafe to go outside and play. The basketball courts are where the shootings are happening and where all the IV needles are being left literally in the courtside to play. I've been to these places to know you cannot send 7 and 8-year-olds out to go and play. So we are looking constantly for more and more families. We have about 2,000 kids that get on buses and come out. I rode a bus yesterday that came here to Fairfield, and we brought 15 new kids out for a 1 to 2 week experience. And I just got a video on the way driving over here that I thought was good timing. It was of a little girl who was 8 years old who was riding a bike in a suburb street for the first time in her life. And she's literally saying, "Wee!" the whole time she's riding down this beautiful tree-lined street here in Fairfield. That would not be happening for that child because, number one, she wouldn't have the resources to have a bike. And even if she did, there's nowhere to ride it in her neighborhood that would be considered safe. And after riding it, most likely there would be nowhere to store it and it would get stolen. So it's things that we take for granted, simple things like walking to the beach, going and walking a dog in the neighborhood after dinner. A lot of these children are so petrified of animals because their only exposure to animals are pit bulls or attack dogs. It's simple things like riding a bike or riding a horse, just rolling in the grass, very, very basic things that we're looking for families to provide for 1 to 2 weeks. Briefly about my experience, we've been hosting the same boy for 11 years now, and we have at this time fortunately been in a situation where we've been able to have legal guardianship of him. He will be going to high school here for his junior year of high school and then his senior year as well. And we don't expect families to get to that level. If you do, it's beautiful if that happens organically. We are just looking for people to open their hearts and their homes to children for a week to 2 with the hope that it becomes a long-term relationship where you're kind of coaching them down that path of life. And I told Mike when we first spoke about the program that when I got into this program 11 years ago, I went into it thinking, what a great thing this will be for our family to do for somebody else, having not an ounce of a concept of how it was going to affect us forever. We are literally, I have 3 kids of my own, and we are literally a different family because of this opportunity that we kind of took a chance on bringing a stranger into our home, and now he is another child of ours. So it's been an incredible experience, and I would recommend any family who has any questions or concerns or wants to talk to me, I will meet you for a cup of coffee and tell you all about it. I will talk to you over the phone. I will walk with you, and I'm here to encourage families. So now as families have children in their homes over the next week or 2, I am their point of contact if anything comes up that is not working out with family dynamics or rule following or any of those basic things, which sometimes we stumble upon. I will come into the home, help troubleshoot. In worst case scenarios, I will bring the child to my home until the bus returns for their departure. So families are never, if they go down this path, stuck in a situation if they find out, you know what, we tried, but this just wasn't for us. That's okay. I'm here to kind of help if needed. So.
Wow, fantastic, and thank you. Any
Thank
questions
you.
from the board?
No, it's great to hear about the program.
It's wonderful. And I would love your support in spreading the word because I think we have such an incredible community, and if more people knew about this, I really believe people would open their minds and their hearts.
Yeah, I think you're right. Well, you're getting to everybody who's
Yeah.
watching at home.
Hopefully.
Do you find that most people do repeat with the same children from year to year?
I would say the majority of people do when they have that connection. There are some families, when you're bringing strangers together, it just doesn't happen for the child or for the family or both. And those families have the opportunity to go back into like the lottery, if you will, to be rematched for the following year. Typically, after the second rematch, there usually is a connection. Some families run their third rematch, and that's okay too.
Right.
So, yeah.
And do you keep in touch throughout the year?
We
Going
recommend
forward?
it.
Okay.
For the strongest bonds to be formed, yes, to follow up with the child maybe on their birthday and at the holiday, but then it usually becomes, just it organically evolves. I would say it took about 2 or 3 years to us get in, for our family to get into a really natural groove, and then we were talking constantly. And then when he was old enough, we got him a phone and it was daily, and then that's where the bond really, really became strong.
But that's kind of more extreme. Probably not
It
that many
is.
people do that.
It is, but I also
But
know
that's
families
great.
who've walked a girl down the wedding,
Yeah.
down the wedding aisle. The husband and the wife were on either side of her, and she picked them to walk her down the aisle. And I know families who have been in birthing rooms, 20 years later when babies are being born, and just amazing, amazing stories. It's really, you get out of it what you put into it. So if you want to put a little, you'll get a little. You put a lot, you'll get a lot. It really depends. Each family can create their own situation.
Right.
Yes.
That's great.
Yeah.
Thank
You
you.
mentioned if folks were interested in the program, how do they get in touch with you or the program?
Absolutely. I think the most simple way would be to go to freshair.org, and when you go there, you'll pick your state, you'll pick your town and your zip code, and then it will automatically get filtered back to me. But people can also send me an email at drah72@att.net, and I'm happy to return that.
Could you say that one more time?
I can. It's D as in dog, R as in rabbit, A as in apple, H as in Harry, 72@att.net.
Thank you. And I've got to point out from a personal experience, we took in a young man who was a Cuban refugee into our home. And he literally became the fourth brother as part of that. We're still friends today, and he's been an integral part of our family ever since then. Not through the Fresh Air program, but very similar in terms of the benefits to our family from that.
Yes.
And it's just a tremendous experience in that. So I'd encourage anybody to take you up on your offer if they're interested to explore it further.
I appreciate you sharing that very much. And I particularly think right now with the racial divide in our country, this is the time more than ever to not just speak about what side you stand on, but to come together. And I'm a believer, it's not my children, their children, it's the world's children. We're all in this together, and let's cross over and not just talk the talk, but like really step into it. So.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing that with
Thank
us today.
you.
And all the best for the summer.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm going to take a moment quickly, since I noticed that our interim superintendent, Dr. Stephen Tracy, has joined us today. And I know you're not formally on the program and you don't have any prepared remarks, but would you like to just say a couple quick words at the podium?
Thank you, Mr. First Selectman and members of the board. Looking forward over the next couple of months to pitching in here, supporting the school board and working with the teachers and school leaders here in Fairfield until the new superintendent is chosen and shows up. I've devoted my entire adult life to the cause of public education. I live up in Goshen, Connecticut, where my wife and I have a little goat farm. And I hear you're short of animals, so maybe I can help you in that regard.
We're okay in that regard, but
Oh,
we
okay.
appreciate the interest.
You're covered, okay. But although my time here will be brief, I'm sure that there will be opportunities for us to collaborate on one thing or another, and I look forward to doing that. Appreciate your welcome.
Very good.
Thanks.
Any comments from
Well, thank you for coming today to introduce yourself to the board and the viewers at home. We look forward to seeing your contributions here in Fairfield.
Great, thanks.
Look forward to working with you. Thank you.
I'm going to just sit in and
Yeah.
try to understand some of the issues that you're dealing with, and I'm sure we'll talk again.
So are you commuting every morning from Goshen
Absolutely.
right now?
An hour and 15 minutes. I'm looking for any advice you might have on how to cut off the
Yeah.
traffic, but
I have not.
Short of a helicopter.
Yeah.
I don't expect that, but it's working out so far.
All right.
I've been here for 3 days. I don't think I've made too many mistakes so far.
Very good. I know we've met already, and we'll be sitting down again shortly.
Right.
We
Good.
had a very good conversation before Dr. Tracy came on board.
That's great.
But thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks.
Next up, the item before us would be to review and approve the Registrar of Voters' salaries, though I think we may have an adjustment to that.
Yeah. To make a motion to table that till September, our first meeting in September.
Okay, to postpone to a
Postpone.
date certain, the first meeting in September. I think that's about September 8th.
Okay.
Sheila, do you have that? Or September 7th, I think.
September 7th,
Yeah.
my birthday, that's right.
Yeah.
Really?
I remember that when we set the schedule.
Okay.
Yeah.
We can rearrange that if you
No.
have a big celebration.
My celebration's going to be
Or we can hold a
Here.
celebration here if
We
you
should do it
are
here.
generous and want to provide. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right. Any further discussion?
No.
Any discussion from the public, or comments from the public on a motion to postpone and a motion to postpone only? All right, back to the board. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so we'll see that back on our agenda in September. Next up, from the Chief Fiscal Officer, and this was an item postponed from July 6th, 2016, to consider and act upon non-union department heads and sub-department heads and other non-union employees' medical expense premium equivalent co-share contribution levels. May I have a motion to accept?
Make a motion.
And a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, I think our Chief Fiscal Officer will kick off the discussion.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, pleasure to be here. This is a discussion item. It's been discussed. There's been an executive session. We've done some kind of research where we've found other towns that have contributions for non-union employees that range from the single digits to the mid-20s, 25%. There's been discussion about whether it's all non-union or department heads, et cetera. And I think after looking at all the documentation and the discussions, I think we have come to a kind of like informal consensus, if I'm correct, which would have the non-core department heads, i.e. The people, the secretaries and those type of people who are non-unions would follow a union contract that's relevant to their job position. Like if you're a secretary, you go in FIA, et cetera, and we should do this for core department heads, of which there are, and the elected officials, the town clerk, and the first selectman, with the exception of public safety, as they are ruled by under contracts, as you're aware, everybody else is in the town charter. So what I have here is a list of who that is that I'm going to share.
Thank you.
And of course, there is some hope on some people's parts that this decision will also have some impact on union negotiations and maybe help drive that. And also, we are facing a revenue shortfall in the budget this year. So I think that people are thinking that the 18% range is kind of a consensus based upon my understanding. And if there's any questions, that's really all I have.
Any questions from the board? Motion from the board?
Oh, I'll make a motion to accept the recommendation of Chief Fiscal Officer Bob Mayer to move, I guess I would say, core department heads to 18% for the co-share for the health insurance costs. I believe that's the right move. It's a move in the right direction. You see a lot of municipalities, like you said, ranging from the I guess some are still way outdated, I believe, in the single digits, all the way up to 25%. You see the private sector here in Connecticut struggling to meet the burden of health care, and you see a lot of municipalities going to ask more on their employees to kick in to continue to have these fantastic health care plans. I believe it's a move in the right direction. I do hope that other unions will follow suit in this, and it's a good start, so I support it.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Let's see, just by way of further discussion, I'd note in looking at the schedule here that while there is literally the city of Bridgeport out at 25%, pretty much everybody else is 16% or less, and the balance being between, I'd say, 11 and 15% from what I look at that. In terms of the 18%, that would put us in the leading range. One of the key considerations for me is making sure that we're still competitive as we look to recruit for department heads and that position, and still make us available to those on the outside. And having said that, I can support the 18% in that, because I think it puts us in a leadership position, but not too far out ahead of the curve. And I think it's important, even in the private sector, that competitive benefits are part of the package that people evaluate. And we do want to make sure that our department heads are the best team out there. And I think there isn't another segment, another group that helps define our services and maintains our service levels and helps us do more with less. And looking ahead, we all know we're facing some substantial challenges in the years ahead, and we need the best team of department heads in that. And I think we have to have a competitive package to do that. So, any further discussion from the board?
I would just like to throw out that I appreciate the way we methodically thought of it. We thought about this, we met, we analyzed information. I think we came to a really good spot on this. So thank you. Thank you for your help.
Any comments from the public? Seeing none, back to the board. Are we ready to vote?
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Mr. Mayor, thank you for stepping us through that.
Welcome.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, from the tax collector, to consider and act upon tax refunds as recommended by the tax collector in the amount recommended. May I have a motion to accept?
I'll make a motion.
A second?
I'll second it.
Either
Okay.
way.
Sheila, you have that.
Yeah.
All right. Any amendments?
Yes, I'd like to make an amendment to change the amount to $9,307.14, followed by a period.
All right. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right, the amendment's before us. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, the item as amended is before us. Any further discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Any new business?
Not for me.
All right. Hearing none. Looks like we're at adjournment. Wow, didn't expect it to go this fast. May I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a
Make a
motion.
All right, second?
Second it.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you both very much. And if you're not